Night doesn't always silence a man. Sometimes, it makes him speak. Rook's horse walked slow along the forest trail, hooves dull against damp earth. The sky had turned black, and even the stars looked cautious, small, distant, reluctant. Pine tops bent and straightened with the wind. Shadows crossed over shadows until the woods became one tangled shape. But Rook's mind was worse. Unpaid accounts. Questions asked long ago that never got an answer. Debts no one ever saw. And the most dangerous enemy a man can carry, his own past. Rook felt like he was stepping on it with every mile. Like the ground wasn't full of roots and stone, but buried mistakes. And that night, the forest seemed to whisper the same thing in every gust. Tonight, you're going to pay something. Rook didn't sit tall in the saddle. No one was there to see it, but his shoulders carried weight. He'd been a bad man once. Then he tried to be better. But the hardest thing out here was never becoming good. It was staying that way. Some nights he asked himself, did I really change? Or did I just change what I called my violence? I didn't throw away the gun. I just changed the reason I used it. That's what night does. It swells the questions. It makes them stand up in front of you like judges. Then the sound came, thin, broken, almost not there. Water. Rook pulled the reins. The horse stopped, and so did he. Because that voice wasn't only a plea, it was a debt. There was a small clearing ahead. Moonlight cut through the branches like a blade. And in the middle of it, a woman. She was tied to a tree, by the wrists. The rope was tight, but not for show. Someone had bound her in a hurry, then left. She was around 40, maybe 45. Her face looked drained of color, hair messy, lips cracked dry. She wore a dark burgundy dress, dusty, worn, fitted a little closer than it should have been for comfort. 2 modest slits in the front, one over each leg, like an old cut meant for walking, not attention. She was barefoot, feet on cold ground. Rook didn't rush forward, didn't even step fully into the clearing at first, because in the dark, the woods can look empty and still be full. But the woman looked too far gone to be a trap. Her breathing was shallow, like every inhale cost her. Rook slid down from the saddle and approached, slow, careful. The woman's head hung, but when she heard his steps, she forced her eyes open. There wasn't fear in them. Fear had already finished its work. What remained was exhaustion, and something else. Something that landed in Rook's gut like a stone. Recognition. Rook crouched near her wrists, reached toward the knots, and froze. Near her collarbone, just under the shoulder, was an old mark, a healed wound, a bullet scar. For a second, the forest disappeared, and another place rose up inside his head. A bar's noise, cards snapping on a table, cheap laughter, a bottle breaking, then a gunshot, silver pike. People called it a bar fight, but it hadn't been a fight. It had been a reckoning. That night, a bullet was meant to end Rook's life. It didn't, because someone stepped into it. Now that someone was tied to a tree in the dark, Rook didn't speak. He just cut the rope. The knot fell. Her arms dropped like they forgot they belonged to her. Her body sagged too. Rook caught her before she collapsed. He eased her down to sit at the base of the tree. She fought for breath. Rook offered a canteen. She wet her lips, swallowed with effort. Then, with a voice barely alive, she said one word, Rook. Rook's chest tightened. Lena, he said. The name didn't come from memory, it came from guilt. Lena blinked once, a tiny yes. But she couldn't talk, not the way a living conversation needs. Rook stayed crouched beside her, and he understood. She couldn't carry her own story tonight. But if that story stayed silent, it would die with her. So Rook began to speak. Not to the woods, not to the sky, to her, and maybe to the part of himself that still needed to hear the truth. You were a saloon woman, Rook said quietly. Lena's eyes closed and opened. Another yes. Rook continued. They called you a bar girl, like that was all you were. But you did more than carry drinks. You read faces. You knew who was lying. You knew who was scared. You knew what men hid behind their smiles. Lena's mouth moved, almost a smile. Then it faded. Rook's voice darkened. And that night, in Silver Pike, I was in the middle of it. My head was gone. My eyes were blind with anger. A gun came up. I didn't see it. Rook swallowed. You did. Lena's breath trembled. And you took the shot, Rook said. You took it from me. Rook stared at the dirt. I didn't even ask your name that night. Because back then, I didn't see people as people. I saw obstacles. And you still kept me alive. Lena gathered what little voice she had left and pushed out one word. Debt. Rook looked up. That one word said everything. Rook took Lena's hand. It was cold. Her eyes drifted in and out like they couldn't decide where to stay. Rook knew that look. He didn't lie to himself. She might not last until sunrise. Maybe 5 hours, maybe less. He noticed a dark stain on the side of her dress. Blood, but it wasn't running anymore. That wasn't good. Rook wrapped her in a blanket, careful, firm, because death comes different ways. Sometimes from the wound, sometimes from the cold, sometimes from both. Shaking hands, he moved her a little deeper into cover where the wind couldn't bite as hard. He didn't build a fire. Fire tells the night where you are. Instead, he tilted the lantern low, close to the ground. He kept the light from spilling far. He let the wood stay dark, but made sure Lena stayed visible. Rook sat beside her, and he kept talking, because she couldn't, and those hours were going to become Rook's reckoning. Lena, Rook said, I've spent years stacking up debts. Lena's eyelid fluttered. Not money, not cattle, not land. My debts are people. The forest stayed silent, but Rook's voice filled it. I stood beside the wrong men in the wrong towns. I said yes when I should have said no. I didn't look at women I should have protected. I didn't hear children I should have heard. Rook looked at his hands. And then one day, I told myself, I'm going to change. But changing doesn't happen in a day, Lena. Changing happens every night. He looked at her face. If you hadn't saved me back then, maybe I never would have tried. Maybe I would have become a man without a grave, a man who disappears like smoke. Lena drew a thin breath. Her lips moved. Grave? Rook's jaw tightened. Yes, he said, a grave. Sometimes Lena opened her eyes. Sometimes she closed them. Sometimes her head shifted a fraction. Those were her answers. Rook didn't ask, who did this? Why did they tie you here? Because tonight wasn't about the enemy. Tonight wasn't about a chase. No hunters, no revenge story. The heart of this was something else. A thank you that arrived too late. Rook squeezed her hand. I never thanked you, he said. Maybe no one did. Lena's mouth moved again, barely. Don't. Rook understood. Don't bother. No need. But Rook refused it. No, he said softly. Some thank yous are necessary, because if you don't speak a debt, it grows. He took a breath. You were a saloon woman, he said again. They looked down on you. They called you the night, but you saved a man's morning. Lena didn't cry, but something eased in her eyes for a moment. Then it slipped away. The night hardened. The cold sharpened. Mist grew thicker. Lena's breathing became spaced out. Rook moved the lantern closer. He kept his own face mostly in shadow. He let hers stay in the light. She tried to speak. Rook leaned in. Her voice was almost nothing. Rook, I'm here. Like this. The sentence didn't finish. Rook finished it for her. Dying like this wasn't what you deserved. Lena blinked. A final yes. Rook's voice turned heavy, not angry, just shaped by pain. You shouldn't go this way, he said. You deserved a gravestone. You deserved a marker. They wouldn't even give you that. Lena's eyes drifted far away. For a second, it looked like she saw old lamplight, like she heard a song from a bar that no longer existed, like some half-finished laughter passed through her memory. Then she returned to Rook. She looked at him, and with the last of her strength, she breathed out one small word. Okay. Then her fingers loosened, and Rook felt it. The heaviest thing in the world is not a coffin, it's a hand, slipping out of yours. Lena was gone before dawn. Quiet. No drama. No mercy. Like the world refused her one last performance. The sky was just beginning to turn blue. Rook dug the grave with his own hands. The soil was hard, but Rook was harder, because this wasn't work, this was payment. He wrapped Lena carefully in the blanket, slowly, with respect. He lowered her into the earth. He stood there a long moment, saying nothing. Then he pulled a small piece of wood from his pack. A simple board. He took his knife and carved. The words were short, but they were the truest words he'd spoken in years. Lena, heart, the gravestone she deserved. He planted the marker, covered the earth. He rested his hand on the soil for one quiet second. Then he stepped back. When the sun finally started to rise, Rook mounted his horse. This time, he didn't ride toward sunset. He rode toward the morning, because for some men, redemption doesn't live where the sun dies. It lives where the sun rises. Rook didn't look back, but the words on that marker followed him anyway. The gravestone she deserved. And for the first time in a long time, a question rose in him that he couldn't bury. When my time comes, will my grave be a right or only a late sentence? The horse's hoofbeats faded into the trees, and the forest, like it had finally collected a debt, fell silent. End. If you enjoyed this story, please follow the channel and leave a comment. Your support helps me create even better videos for you.